WPTV, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Vero Beach. Live from your 24-hour news source, this is Action 5 News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Denise Jakehouse.
And I'm Jim Sackett. Coming up tonight on Action 5 News at 5:30, the defense tries to blow holes in the case of a man accused of raping a 7-year-old girl and her babysitter.
We'll tell you about a new plan that could save Florida Medicare patients millions of dollars.
And coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll have reaction from a Kennedy family member to the alleged rape that took place on the Kennedy compound.
Thank you for joining us tonight. A new state report shows.
We've known for a while is that emergency rooms are inappropriately utilized for minor conditions. We know that. What we wanted to do is take a closer look at it and see some of the factors involved.
One report says emergency room traffic would drop by 43% if children were cared for in clinics or by doctors. At St. Mary's Hospital, officials have found a solution to that problem. It's called the Kids Corner. Doctors take care of children who might have gone to an emergency room. Care here costs less. Hospital spokesman Don Chester says he's concerned the new study will discourage people from going to emergency rooms or even the Kids Corner.
The medical community would define an emergency as anything that the patient feels is an emergency. We don't want to discourage patients from coming to a hospital if they feel they do have an emergency.
The state study says the biggest problems are in area where there are indigent patients, people who oftentimes have no choice but to go to the hospital because they have no doctor and clinics are closed. Health officials say they need to embark on an education campaign to teach people when to use emergency rooms. State funding, though, for instructional programs might be wishful thinking.
Medicare beneficiaries in Florida could save millions of dollars in doctors' bills. That is, if the legislature passes a new bill. The bill is designed to limit the amount a physician can charge over what Medicare considers to be reasonable. That's according to the American Association of Retired Persons. Some physicians charge patients over and above what Medicare deems to be reasonable for certain services. The new bill would strive to reduce this type of overbilling. A member of the legislative committee says this year's cost of living adjustment for Social Security beneficiaries was dwarfed by an 11% jump in health care costs.
The problem of airport noise is taking off in St. Lucie County, and some residents can't seem to get any relief.
As Action 5's Mark Kaler reports tonight, the county, several years ago, tried to put some space between the airport and the homes. But now a better buffer may be needed.
It's been 4 years since the county evaluated noise levels near its St. Lucie Airport. A longer runway and other improvements may have changed the noise problems for people who still live east of the runways.
Sometimes I'll be watching a good TV show or something and their choppers or the planes will go over and you can't hear what's going on inside.
The county bought out most of the neighborhood, part of a federal mandate to provide a noise buffer zone. The plan was to sell some of the homes and give as many as possible to local charities.
It cost the county about $4 million to acquire this property, and 70 of these houses were spoken for by local charities. But then economic times got tougher.
Some of those charitable organizations just cannot afford to move those houses, renovate those houses.
The Victory Children's Home will take 4 of the houses using grant money to move and renovate them. And if the new noise study mandates more purchases, the county may find some willing sellers.
They're buying all the houses out and it's making it sound like property value is going down, so they're wanting to get out.
The county will give charities time to work out financial arrangements. Houses they can't sell or give away will be demolished. In Fort Pierce, Mark Kaler, Action 5 News.
And airport administrators estimate the new noise study should be finished within 9 months.
Police in Central Florida are investigating a rape case tonight. An Orlando woman was allegedly raped by a gas station attendant last night while she was trying to fill up her car. As Sharon Dennis reports, the attendant is on the run.
Early this morning, it isn't clear who raped and kidnapped the woman. Now investigators say the suspect is the service station clerk, something the owner of the business on South Orange Blossom Trail finds confusing.
Knowing him as I know him as an employee and just talking with him. And it would be very difficult for me to believe that Ray would do something like that.
But authorities say Raymond Spitz is wanted for raping the woman in the back room of this service station. for abducting her and leaving her in a wooded area about 7 miles away. She was left around 2 o'clock this morning near a wastewater treatment plant, which is staffed 24 hours a day. Employee Robert Miller says her hands were tied.
And she was bound with some wire, very tight. I mean, just cutting off circulation. And on top of the wire was black electrician's tape.
Miller says she seemed calm and in control. Later, she identified the clerk in a police photo lineup.
We know he has family and friends in the area, and obviously we have contacted those individuals. But again, there's some speculation that since there was some cash missing from the store, as well as some grocery items along with his vehicle, he may very well have fled the area.
As the owner describes her employee as a nice young man and can't believe he's a suspect, the man who helped the victim remains bothered by the crime.
Here it is, 1991, and even gas stations aren't safe. It really bothered me. I was on the verge of tears all night long.
In Orange County, Sharon Dennis, Florida News Network.
A Delray Beach investigator underwent a second day of questioning on the stand in the kidnapping and rape case of a 7-year-old girl and her babysitter. Defense attorneys representing John Early are trying to convince the judge that key evidence should be dismissed. Attorney Richard Lubit is accused of Carter's boss, Michael Warren, was killed. In December, Carter's twin brother, Ronald, pleaded guilty to similar auto theft charges. Criminal charges against Michael Warren are still pending.
In international news tonight, as the slaughter continues in Iraq, officials in Washington and the United Nations are being pressured to intervene. As Andy Field reports, the U.S. says it will meet with the rebel leaders, but few world leaders want to march into Iraq to take over.
Refugees poured out of Kuwait when Iraq marched in. Now they're racing away from what's left of Saddam Hussein's bomb-cratered country. The suffering and atrocities inside Iraq are so horrifying that the United Nations is debating whether to send troops in. As for the United States blasting back into Iraq, the State Department says it's not their problem.
It is a terrible, terrible situation. But to say we're going to go do something about it, there is no authority to do that.
Get out. Get out. The United States does have the authority to kick Iraqi troops out of its occupied land. Today, the Pentagon reported that some of those retreating troops are back where they shouldn't be, and they'd better move out immediately.
We've notified the Iraqi military that they're there and reminded them of their obligation to enforce the demarcation line.
It's not likely that Iraq will challenge U.S. or coalition forces because it already knows the punishment it would receive. But Iraqi troops are reportedly killing thousands of their own people, and outsiders are doing nothing to stop that. Is the United Nations to blame?
It is not responsible for that. The person who is responsible for that is Saddam Hussein.
This week, the State Department meets the Iraqi rebel leaders trying to kick Saddam Hussein out of office. And the UN sifts through the war rubble, struggling to do something to end the endless suffering in and out of the country that started this nightmare 8 months ago. In Washington, Andy Field, Action 5 News.
In the Soviet Union, it was doomsday for many consumers. The day they have been dreading finally arrived. Today, prices were hiked as much as 250%. The price for a quart of milk has doubled, and a loaf of bread cost 3 times what it did yesterday. Stores were still crowded today after a weekend of panic buying.
It's horrible. I don't believe in anything anymore.
The government says such tough measures are necessary to get goods on store shelves and improve the standard of living, but most Soviet citizens are afraid life will just get worse.
Still ahead on Action 5 News, it's all systems go for the space shuttle Atlantis as it gears up to take off.
And it's nice weather around the nation, except for a couple of areas. Meteorologist Art Horn will point them out for us in a moment. Stay with us.
You're watching Action 5 News, your 24-hour news source, with Jim Sackett and Denise Jakehouse. The TV5 Palm Beach Post Lottery line is your source for cash-free Fantasy 5 and Lotto results 24 hours a day. The TV5 Palm Beach Post Lottery line.
With Eckerd Ultra Lab 35, you get the best 35mm prints, sleeved negatives, a portfolio case, and one great big
relaxation breather, and he continues his visit to Alamorada. Mr. Bush was out on the water this morning to catch some bonefish during his 3-day visit to Florida. The president is accompanied by Treasury Secretary Nicholas Brady and Deputy National Security Advisor Robert Gates. Barbara Bush and Kitty Brady also went along for the fishing trip. The Bushes plan to visit with the president's 89-year-old mother in Hobe Sound before returning to Washington tomorrow evening.
The countdown for the Space Shuttle Atlantis got underway today. Engineers are making sure that everything's ready for Friday's launch. NASA officials are proceeding with their plans despite hairline cracks on the hinges of the shuttle's flapper doors. Atlantis' 5 astronauts arrived at Cape Canaveral this afternoon. They'll release a $600 million observatory during the 5-day mission. The satellite will circle the Earth for about 2 years in search of gamma rays. Those gamma rays are the most energetic radiation known. The Atlantis is scheduled to blast off at 9:18 on Friday morning.
We are in the early stages of a brand new month, and across the country, some nice weather, and as you say, except for a couple of areas.
Mainly at the corners, we've got some weather problems, but really the national weather picture, not bad, and temperatures are really responding to that ever-increasingly strong April sunshine. 76 degrees, the temperature at noon. It is now just 72, and the humidity nice and low at 56%, the barometer at 30.15, and that wind now out of the northeast at 8, but at 3:59 this afternoon, we did have a gust up to 31 miles an hour, and we're going to see even more wind over the next 2 to 3 days. First, the weather map from yesterday. We were watching a small storm in the Rocky Mountains, and we were watching inclement weather in the northeast with cold temperatures, lots of clouds, and occasional flurries and drops of rain. Not a lot has improved in the northeast. There has been a couple of inches of snow on the ground now at Du Bois, Pennsylvania. They've had on and off snow, mostly of a light variety through the day in Buffalo. And that little low pressure area continues to scoot off the coast, but it's generally damp and cold in much of the northeast. But the rest of the country, not too bad. Now, there is a tornado watch up for portions of central Kansas. That will be in effect till later on tonight as this little low pressure begins to move into the plains and it begins to fire up some thunderstorms. And there's a cold front moving through the Pacific Northwest, but you can see the southwest, the high plains here in the southeast. Nice. So, of course, we do have the breezy conditions down here. 74 degrees in West Palm Beach right now, low humidity, 78 at Tampa, 74 at Jacksonville at the current time. And there you can see in the northeast the very, very cool and damp weather conditions. Just 39 at Cleveland right now. 36 degrees is the current temperature at Buffalo, 49 in New York, 42 at Boston, 40 degrees at Caribou, and 41 at Montreal. So it's still cool up there. You get to the west, gets a little better, 52 at Chicago. Now Minneapolis enjoying a beautiful day, 59 degrees. In Winnipeg, out there in the bathing suits at 59, and at Regina, Saskatchewan, up to 70 degrees this afternoon. Beautiful weather there. Just 52, though, at Denver, and there has been a cold rain in the area. 62 at Salt Lake City. The current temperature is 61 at LA. It's 59 at Medford, Oregon. And up at Seattle, they've had rain showers in the area. Right now, it's 47. So you can see things are beginning to warm up finally, except in the northeast, where a sluggish, slow-moving weather system continues to hold on there. Let's take a look at the forecasts around the nation for Wednesday and see what the temperatures look like. All right, so it looks like we are finally pulling out of the cold weather, except in the northeast where they're still stuck with it. Here it looks like we are going to be dealing with more of that wind over the next few days.
It's a little monotonous after a while,
yeah,
doesn't
well, as I said, March and April are the times when we do get most of the wind, but April we do get a very high percentage of sun too. So it's not going to be real bad over the next few days. but it is really going to be blowing around there. So if you're going to be at the beach or out on the boat, you want to be aware of that.
All right. Thanks very much. We'll see you at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Thanks, Art. After a slow start this week, the stock market appears to be gaining some steam. Analysts credit stronger prices in the bond market. The Dow rose more than 60 points today. This is how the market looked at the close. The industrials finished at 29.45. That's up 63.09. Transportation's up 13.93, and utilities gained some as well. Today's volume was heavy. 189 million shares changed hands. Among the widely held stocks, AT&T is up 5/8. General Motors gained 1 5/8. IBM advanced 7/8, and Eastman Kodak added 1/4 point. On the active stock list, RJR Nabisco is up 3/8. Hercules is down 5 1/4. Pet Incorporated is up 1/4 point, and PSI Energy gained 1/8. On the metals market today, gold is down $1.90 to $385.50, and silver ended at $3.87. That's up 5 pennies.
Still to come on Action 5 News, Tom Twyford will be along to tell us how to have tons of fishing fun, but knowing how to stay within the limits of the law.
And we'll meet a star wrestler who has managed to overcome a handicap. Pat Murphy is just ahead with sports.
This weight loss program offers a solution you can live with, total flexibility and savings.
You'll lose weight, but your grocery bill stays the same. That's what's great about this program. You eat regular foods at home or at your favorite restaurant. Your lifestyle doesn't change, but your figure certainly does. While losing 43 pounds, I was never hungry.
Right now, 2 people can enroll for the price of just 1 at Doctors Quick Weight Loss Centers. Call 1-800-940-SLIM.
Feel the thunder. Go for it. Feel the thunder in the grass at Palm Beach Polo this Sunday.
Palm Beach Polo is proud to present the TV5 Pepsi International Challenge this Sunday at 3 p.m. Feel the thunder.
Palm Beach Polo.
Payday. Do 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 do
Jeopardy. Any questions?
TV5 is the place to be for Jeopardy!
In any sport, you have to know the rules to play the game. And tonight, our fishing reporter, Tom Twyford, proves that fishing is no exception and tells us a few ways on how to remember our limits.
Anybody that's fished in Florida waters for any length of time knows that the rules and regulations surrounding Florida's marine fishes have gone through quite a few changes the past few years. Now, it's hard enough remembering what you had for breakfast yesterday morning, let alone trying to remember what the minimum size limit is on cobia or the bag limits are on black drum. Now, because of this, full-time fishing guides, tackle shop owners, and average fishermen like you and I have trouble keeping track of the rules. But just not knowing the rules is no excuse for exceeding bag limits or keeping undersized fish. Here's a couple of things that you can do to prevent this from happening. For starters, I suggest you get your hands on one of these brochures. It's free and it's published by the Florida Marine Patrol. And the publication outlines current size and bag limits as well as closed seasons surrounding Florida's regulated marine fishes. Secondly, you might want to get your hands on a handy measuring device. Among the most popular are fish tapes like these here. Now, they readily attach to the side of your boat or a cooler and are very convenient to use. Wade fishermen might find this little device pretty convenient, and it's called the rod ruler, and it directly attaches to your fishing rod. It is very convenient, but those fishing with fancy custom rods might be a little reluctant to use it. The newest device out on the market is called the Florida Sportsman Law Stick, and this is a saltwater-proof ruler-type device that folds up and conveniently fits in most any tackle box. And finally, the Keep It Legal chart features drawings of Florida's regulated fish by local artist Kim Nielsen. Now, this waterproof chart is not only handy for regulations, but it's good for fish identification as well. Now, most of these items can be found in your local tackle shops. And remember that knowing the rules is your obligation, and whenever possible, practice catch and release fishing. Then you don't have to worry about the rules. For Action 5 News and the West Palm Beach Fishing Club, I'm Tom Twyford. Tight lines.
Thanks, Tom. Pat's joining us tonight with a profile in courage, and this is a young man who indeed has lots of that.
This kid should be paid millions of dollars, unlike some of the athletes who are getting money and don't deserve it. Lance Benson is unlike most athletes you'll ever meet. Lance is a high school wrestler but has no legs. Here's a look at this courageous young man.
Like many teenage boys, Lance Benson likes cars, especially sleek, sporty ones like his 1972 Corvette. It's his pride and joy. But Benson also takes a lot of pride in his wrestling. He's 23-1 so far this season for the East Wake High School team. And what makes his record remarkable is that Benson was born without legs.
It's not really nothing for me to overcome because I never had legs, I guess. Never missed them, so it's just part of my life.
He doesn't want to be known as a wrestler without legs. I think the primary thing I can say about Lance is he wants to be known as a good wrestler.
And that he is. Benson won his division at the North Carolina State Games last summer and should be a contender for the State 4A title. Benson's upper body strength is a major asset. He's able to bench press 250 pounds. He's also able to reverse what most people would see as a liability.
Seeing my opponent has never wrestled a guy with no legs before, it would be kind of an advantage because he would have to kind of think of certain techniques to wrestle me. And that's probably one of the biggest advantages I have.
Benson sees himself as any normal student. So do his coaches and teammates. Benson's not in this to inspire people.
We forget about the inspiration. We just see him as a regular kid working hard to do something he likes to do. Sets his goals and goes to them.
To me, wrestling is just like to anybody else playing football or something, I guess. It's just in my lane of my own, playing sports in my own way.
Coming up at 6, afternoon baseball highlights from the stadium. Plus, I'll tell you where running back Roger Craig is headed.
A lot of changes going on at the 49er camp.
I'm surprised the 49ers let him go. Ronnie Lott, I can see that, but Roger Craig has been a great running back over the years, but times are changing, I guess.
They have to keep up.
Sure do.
Jim.
Times don't change for food, and when we come back, we'll discover a delicious main dish that's easy to prepare, even though it looks hard to make.
Here's some fresh news hot from the oven. Now every hand-tossed, oven-baked Domino's pizza comes with more cheese. 50% more cheese. So there's even more of that fresh, hot, bubbling Domino's taste to love. Domino's Pizza. Better because we get it there hotter and fresher. And now better than ever because you get 50% more cheese. And right now, order a medium-sized original pizza with 2 toppings for $6.99 and get a second for just $4 more. For a limited time only from Domino's Pizza.
If you like the taste of lamb but don't like the work that goes along with it, here is a recipe for you.
Lamb is, I guess, an acquired taste. Not everybody likes it the first time they try it.
You and I agree on it, though. It's real good.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
But tonight, Mr. Food shows us how to make lamb shank without all the hassles.
We're always looking for something new and different to serve, but still easy, and still with the comfort taste of home. Well, here's a main course that fits all of these with a few more pluses, including using any brands you've got in the house. It's lamb shanks. They're meaty and they're inexpensive. And if they're marked American lamb, they're sure to be tender and mild besides. Now, we've simply sprinkled 6 of them with salt and pepper and baked them for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. Now, we also combined in a skillet 3/4 of a cup of broth with 1 each of sliced yellow, red, and green pepper, a sliced bunch of scallions, a cup of white wine, and a crushed clove of garlic. Now, we cook it a few minutes to tender the peppers and get rid of the alcohol in the wine and to marry the flavors together. Then we mix in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with 2 tablespoons of water to thicken it up. And then we pour it over the lamb shanks. And so easy to serve because 1 on a plate is all that it takes. There's no carving, so you look like a pro. And if you'd like the recipe, just send a self-addressed stamped envelope marked Pepper Shanks to me, Mr. Food, right here at the station, and we'll get it back to you for having the old-time taste of pot roast with a modern look and a modern crunch of the peppers. Plus, the easy and the reasonable and the applause and the new excitement and the fun. And we didn't even mention all the, oh, it's so good.
And that's it for Action 5 News at 5:30. I'm Denise Jakehouse. I'll see you again tomorrow.
And coming up tonight at 6 o'clock when Laurel Sauer joins me, help finally arrives in Delray Beach. The city gets its first clinic to help substance abusers.
I'm Mark Alford in Riviera Beach. The Gulf War may be over, but tougher security measures remain in place here at the Port of Palm Beach.
I'm Tom Melville. A look at the safety of residential construction sites. That story and more coming up next on Action 5 News at 6 o'clock.
Many times when you're traveling in your car, you may notice some type of environmental hazards on or near the roadway. If you're like most people, you simply ignore the destruction and continue on your way. Now, if you're a Cellular One customer, you can dial Star Earth. You can report hazardous pollution you see on our land, water, or in our air. Star Earth and Cellular One, looking out for Florida's future.
Florida's Future is TV5's environmental campaign, brought to you by Cellular One.
Check this out. What you got there, Magic? Chicken looks good. Spicy chicken. How about passing some of that chicken over here? Yeah, man, I'm open. This stuff may be a little too hot for you guys to handle. They don't call me Magic for nothing.
For a limited time, 10 pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken, just $6.99. Original recipe, extra tasty crispy, or magical hot and spicy chicken. 10 pieces, just $6.99.
Free medical advice is just a phone call away. This Saturday, Action 5 News and the Palm Beach County Medical Society present Health Calls. Area doctors will be in the TV5 studios on call to answer all your medical questions. Just call between 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. And tune in at 7 as Action 5 News medical reporters Dr. Kim Crawford and Lainey Thomas co-host a full hour of useful medical information. Health Calls, presented by the Palm Beach County Medical Society and Action 5 News. WPTV, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Vero Beach. Live from your 24-hour news source, this is Action 5 News at 6.